There's a lot of manipulating spirits out here. People are being used by the enemy. Some know that they're being used because they're not of God anyhow. But the ones that are of God, they are being used unknowingly by the enemy, and they don't realize it. And it's a manipulating spirit from divination, which you already know is witchcraft. So if there's anyone that is being controlling, and you can see that spirit, if God has given you discernment, and if God hasn't given you discernment, or you think you don't have it, you ask for it. Ask for discernment and wisdom altogether, and the Lord will give it to you. But it's good to be prayed up most of all, and put on, or continue, I should say, to put on the full armor of God, because that's another thing that's been sticking with me. Now, I released a video on that before as well, about putting on the whole armor of God, the full armor of God, because that's what God kept sending me in the scriptures about, and that's what kept popping up. And then I started getting confirmation on it about putting on the whole armor of God. It's important because the enemy can catch us off guard when these things are taking place and we're not aware of how to deal with situations and whatnot that arise through the enemy. Then we can be lost in the matters. So continue to put on the full armor of God so that you can take a stand against the walls of the enemy, from the manipulation and the witchcraft, because it's running rampant. It's running rampant through people, like I said, that are Christians, and they're not even realizing that they're being used literally by the enemy. And the Bible speaks, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the spirit, the wickedness in high places, the rulers of darkness and the wickedness in high places. So if we continue to keep our armor on, being aware of the enemy's devices, we can get through, we can make it, with the sword of the Spirit. All of those of our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but they're mighty in God for pulling down all strongholds that exalt above the knowledge of God. And we bring it into captivity, into the obedience of Christ. So we have to keep our full armor of God on so that we'll be able to fight the enemy full force, when he decides to come at us. Because there again, we don't wrestle against the flesh and blood. We can fight in war against one another. That's what it means. You don't fight against the flesh and blood, but against principalities, rulers of darkness in high places, wickedness in high places, rather. So when you catch yourself, because the enemy is shrewd. When you catch yourself, and he has tactics, you catch yourself going left, or he can catch you off guard, period, when you don't have your full armor on. For instance, someone can say something to you and it will get you off like in an offensive state of mind. So if you don't have that mindset of Christ on and that full armor of Him on, you can be easily not swayed, but easily drifted off or easily moved in the wrong spirit instead of having God's spirit on to fight that, and the way you fight that spirit is through love. You because I mean I've experienced it and I'm still experiencing it, and I released a video about me being different, me changing. Someone said I had changed, but you do it through love, because when God changes you, God is love, and if you have the love of God of Christ in you, that love is supposed to show. Um, that love is supposed to be effective. The more you go through with God, the more you contend with God, the more you seek God, you know, vigilantly and abide with God. Um, His love has to come. The more you draw near to Him, that His attributes has to resonate with you. They have to come upon you because you're drawing closer to Him. You're getting every aspect of Him um, being pulled, to you as you take hold onto God. Right? He said, "I am the vine; you are the branches. You who abide in me, and I abide in you, will bear much fruit." Right? So your fruit, um, the gifts and whatnot, which your gifts will make room for you. Um, his characters are the fruits of the spirit. So, if you take hold of God, of Christ, those fruits of the spirit will abide within you, right? As God said, if you abide in me and I abide in you, you will bear much fruit, right? So, um, yeah, keep putting on that full armor and keep asking and seeking God for the things that is needed to fight. Prayer is our warfare. Is our weapon to fight. Praise is our weapon to fight. Being consecrated, which means being consecrated in the Word, is a fight. Fast is fast, but being consecrated, when you consecrate yourself, you go in your Word in your secret place, and you're hiding under the shadow of the Almighty. He said that He would exalt you in due time as you do so, right? So, yeah, because our fighting is not with flesh and blood, but it's with the principality, that spirit that dwells within that individual, that acts up, that those demons that try to rise within, that individual. So yeah, it's running rampant, truly running rampant. But we can fight, but we have to fight with God. We have to fight with what He what's the word? It's at the tip of my tongue. That He provides us with, which is uh the fruits of His Spirit, and faith, salvation, all of that. We fight with the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. You have to be prepared for these things. That's what the armor is for, preparation. You have to be prepared for those things, but we have to have those things on us and in us for us to be prepared for the fight of the enemy, for the warfare that comes, and things can catch you off guard if you're not ready, if you're not putting on the full armor of God, so that you can be able to stand um, against the wiles of the enemy. You know, for we wrestle not there again against flesh and blood, but against that spirit that's within that individual. I used to deal with that for so long. I would think that because I was in my flesh and I wasn't close enough really to God, you really have to have a personal relationship with God in order to withstand the evil. Um, and what was I going to say? Because I went off that time. Um, yeah, fighting that spirit within, I would always feel as though that was the individual that was reacting that way. And I'd be like, oh, well, they need to stop. They know what they're doing. And I would charge at the individual, but it wasn't the individual themselves because, a lot of times that individual does not know what they're doing. It's a spirit that's within because, there's a battle between good and evil. It always happened from day one. And this world is spiritual. It's a spiritual thing in the air that we're fighting against, which is the enemy. So remember that it's not about that individual. It's about the spirit that's within that we're fighting, which is Satan himself and his demons that are fighting people in the spirit realm. So continue to put on the full armor of God and be aware of the enemy's devices, of these wicked spirits, these forces, that are trying to grip a hold of you, people with controlling spirits and whatnot. And there again, it's not the person, it's the spirit behind that person, within that person. Controlling is a form of witchcraft. Holding people back for things is a form of witchcraft. When they're talking to you a certain type of way, with attitudes of wanting you to do things their way or whatever, still control is what it is. So, if you see that spirit, begin to rebuke within yourself, rebuke, and remember those, how we're not supposed to fight against the flesh and blood, but against the principalities, rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places. So, be encouraged by and be blessed.